I mean, like I get to America, basically. So that's what, because for so many years, America was the dream to get in America. And I get in America and in a big way, not the way that I get in Europe, because I get in Europe in the service door. I get in America basically on the red carpet. That was it.
That was 2015. 2015.
Yeah.
How much that first fight? Does that first fight make you rich?
No.
You don't get paid much for the first UFC fight.
Yeah, he was $10,000 plus
10,000
win bonus, and then with all the commissions, you got out with almost just half. But he wasn't about the fight. He was more about, like, I think me coming to America and all the stuff. He was more than what I was making in the fight.
That's 9 years after you left Cameroon. You fought for the UFC Heavyweight Championship belt. And eventually you won that belt and you held that UFC Heavyweight title.
Yeah, but I lost. I fought before.
Yeah, you fought quite a lot. Yeah.
Yes, I fought in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually you won.
The same guy.
Yeah.
I lost.
I've watched your career, so I've watched the journey, and it felt like for the first start of your career, I don't know, it felt like maybe you weren't as focused, but then it felt like this other half of your UFC career, something had changed.
I was focused. It's just that I never done sport before. I didn't grow up as an athlete, so I didn't know how they do. I didn't know how they train. I didn't know how they prepare for a championship. I didn't know anything, so I was just out there trying. And then in that fight, I did a lot of mistakes and I learned from it. And I'm like, okay, the good thing, I might have lost this fight, but this fight will be the biggest fight in my career, because everything that is coming after this fight, everything that I learned in this fight, I will implement that in my game, in my career from now on, and it will be quite helpful.
You have the hardest punch ever recorded by the UFC, the equivalent of 93 horsepower. A smart car by comparison maxes out at 80 horsepower, and they called you the Predator. You did eventually win the UFC heavyweight title, and you held it between 2021 and 2023. And eventually you left the UFC in January 2023 because of basically a disagreement with the UFC, with Dana White, about, I guess, freedom and money.
Yes, freedom and treatment. The way that I was being treated, I didn't like it.
Was there ever a moment where you realized that you'd really made it? You know, you're a young man that had come from Cameroon, you walked your way out of the, through Africa, and then you got on a boat and went to Spain, and then from Spain to Paris, then from Paris to America, and then you reach the highest mountain, which is you win the UFC heavyweight title, which is like the peak of fighting. Was there a moment where you thought, I've made it?
It's not like you reach the higher mountain, whatever mountain you are on top, there's always, then when you get in the peak of a mountain, you realize there's another mountain that's higher, and you realize that what motivates you, what keep you going, wasn't the peak of the mountain, but it was the peak of all mountain. So then it's never a satisfaction. Even though you take a moment, I'm like, oh, finally make it to the top. You take a breath, but you know that you will keep going. I think it's a mindset that you have, and basically will not stop. Like, you don't have a limit. You don't have a place that you say, okay, if I get here, then I'm done. There's always something around. There's always something which is set as a higher mountain, So, but I think what I do is to take time. I like to go home a lot, and I like to go back on my path, and every step, every time I will be there, I'm like thinking of the moment that I was there, like maybe 15 years ago, and he will feel like it was just yesterday. And I will trying to see like where I am today, see the different. That's exactly when I realized, because when I'm here, I'm just living like it's normal, like it's everybody, like he was just like this all the time.